On the afternoon of February 2, 2008, a quiet suburban street in Victoria, British Columbia became the scene of a murder that still feels calculated, controlled, and deeply unsettling. There were no signs of forced entry. No robbery. No clear motive. Just a young woman, found dead inside a house she was showing to potential buyers, who were never identified. Her name was Lindsay Buziak. And more than a decade later, no one has been charged with her murder. Lindsay Buziak was 24 years old. She worked as a real estate agent in Victoria, building her career and gaining experience in a competitive market. Friends described her as focused and outgoing. She was motivated, and like many young professionals, she was trying to establish herself. In early 2008, Lindsay received a phone call that would set everything in motion. The caller was a woman with a strong, unplaceable accent. She said she and her husband were moving to Victoria and were looking to buy a home, something upscale, in the range of around $1 million. For Lindsay, it was a major opportunity. But something about the call made her uneasy. She later told her boyfriend, Jason Zalo, that the woman's voice felt strange. Almost rehearsed. At one point, the caller reportedly mentioned being from South Africa, though this was never confirmed. Despite her concerns, Lindsay agreed to meet the couple and show them a property. The house was located on De Souza Place, in the quiet neighborhood of Saanich, just outside Victoria. It was vacant at the time. A newly built home. Clean, modern, and empty. The showing was scheduled for the afternoon of February 2. Before heading to the appointment, Lindsay shared her uneasiness with Jason. She asked him to come along, not to enter the house, but to wait nearby, just in case. Jason agreed. On that day, Lindsay arrived at the property shortly before 5:30 p.m. Jason and his roommate followed in a separate car and parked a short distance away. They watched as Lindsay approached the house. Minutes later, a couple arrived. Witnesses later described them as a well-dressed man and woman, possibly in their 30s or 40s. The woman reportedly had dark hair. The man was described as clean-cut, with an average build. They walked up to Lindsay. And together, the three of them entered the house. It was the last time Lindsay Buziak was seen alive. Jason and his friend waited outside. At first, nothing seemed unusual. But as time passed, something felt wrong. The showing was taking longer than expected. There was no movement inside the house. No one entering or leaving. After approximately 15 minutes, Jason tried calling Lindsay. There was no answer. Growing concerned, he walked up to the front door and knocked. No response. The door was locked. He circled the house, looking through windows, trying to see inside. Still nothing. Finally, he called 911. Police arrived shortly afterward. When officers entered the home, they made a chilling discovery. Lindsay Buziak was dead. She had been stabbed multiple times. The attack was brutal and precise. There were no signs of a struggle spilling outside the immediate area. No evidence of theft. And perhaps most disturbingly, no sign of the couple who had entered the house with her. They were gone. Investigators quickly realized this was not a random act of violence. The killers had arranged the meeting. They had selected the house. They had chosen the time. And they had disappeared without leaving a clear trace. The phone used to contact Lindsay became a key piece of evidence. Police traced the number to a prepaid cell phone, a burner phone. It had been purchased shortly before the call. After the murder, it was never used again. The calls themselves were brief and carefully controlled. There was no clear way to identify the caller. Investigators also examined the house itself. The property had been listed for sale, but it had connections to individuals known to police. This detail led to speculation about whether Lindsay had been targeted, or whether she had unknowingly walked into something meant for someone else. Attention soon turned to Lindsay's personal life. Her relationship with Jason Zalo was closely examined. So were her friends, colleagues, and recent interactions. Police also explored possible links to drug trafficking. At the time, some reports suggested that individuals connected to Lindsay's broader social circle may have had ties to criminal activity. However, no direct evidence ever proved Lindsay herself was involved. Still, investigators could not ignore the possibility that the murder was a case of mistaken identity, or a message intended for someone else. Another theory suggested the killers were professionals. The level of planning, the use of a burner phone, the controlled nature of the meeting, all pointed to something organized. Yet there were also inconsistencies. Professional hits are usually efficient. This attack was violent, involving multiple stab wounds. It suggested anger, or urgency. Despite extensive investigation, the descriptions of the suspects remained frustratingly vague. The man and woman seen entering the house were never identified. No clear surveillance footage captured their arrival or escape. No vehicle was definitively linked to them. It was as if they had appeared, and vanished. Over the years, the case has been reviewed multiple times. Tips have come in. Theories have evolved. But no charges have been laid. Lindsay's family has remained vocal, pushing for answers. They have questioned the pace and direction of the investigation, believing that more could have been done in the early stages. Public interest in the case has never fully faded. It continues to be discussed, analyzed, and revisited by investigators and the public alike. Because at its core, the case raises unsettling questions. A young woman receives a strange phone call. She agrees to meet strangers in an empty house. Within minutes, she is dead. And the people responsible simply disappear. No witnesses come forward. No definitive evidence surfaces. No clear motive is established. The house on D. Souza Place has long since returned to normal. The neighborhood is quiet again. But what happened inside that home on February 2, 2008 remains unresolved. The murder of Lindsay Buziak stands as one of Canada's most puzzling unsolved cases. A crime that feels deliberate, controlled, and incomplete. And somewhere, perhaps known to someone, the truth still exists. Waiting to be uncovered.